Hello everybody and welcome back to my Horizon Zero Dawn playthrough. Last time, what did we do? Oh, that's right, we collected all of the stupid collectibles and stuff like that. How the hell do I have 8 fucking skills? I want to kind of open up by going over all of the... Sorry. By going over all of the collectibles, since we do have all of them. First, we could go with the coffee cups because... Oh! It's gonna be the second thing, so, you know, we got a cup named Pharaoh. What was it? Shows the terrain of the Gateland. This one shows a curious flying machine. Then Heart's Wayfarers. And then this one is Merman. USRC. And then the threatening visage of the Terminator. Then we got Sterling Malkeet. And then we got the Odyssey. And we got Metallurgic International. Then we got Xiaomi World Tour 2053. And then Rocky Mountain Thunderbird. Now to the meadow flowers. Light of the moon moves west, flowers' shadows creep eastward. Evening wind, water laps the heron's legs. Lightning flash what I thought were faces are plumes of pompous grass. Orchid breathing, incest into butterfly's wings. Summer grass is all that remains, soldier dreams. Oh, when this fine sapling grows to flower, who will be there here? Sharing tree shade with the butterfly friends in a previous life. Watching the river through a window of trees, spring rain falls. For the mind of a single mind, 100 opening lives. To tangle or untangle the web knows the wind. When dawn hyenas her hands with the blood of the horizon, let the new bride of the golden veil uncover her shining face. The sky's face has turned dark, don't believe a cloud has come. In the garden snow melt or so changes the raven to a falcon of white. Oh, what designs might the magician of cold display? Like a mirror, the page of the water is bound in ice. The dust of many crumpled cities settles over us like a forgotten doze, or forgetful doze. But we are older than those cities. We began as minerals, we merged into plant life, and into the animal state, and then into being human. And always we have forgotten our former states, except in early spring when we slightly recall being green again. By its own nature, the tangle of rivers. Don't say it's a lot of dirt, piled high, without end, the mist of dawn. The evening cloud draw their shadows across it. From the 4 directions you can look up and see it, green and steep and wild. Even this morning, O swan, awake, arise to me. Arise, follow me. There is a land where no doubt nor sorrow have rule, where the terror of death is no more. There the woods of spring are abloom, and the fragrant scent he is born on the wind. There the bee of the heart is deeply immersed, and desire no other joy. I saw a mountain, its haughty peak, and bunched spine vying with the worlds on high, deflecting every salvo of the wind, and shouldering the starlight from the sky, brooding above the dunes like some great thinker, considering days to come as nights go by, with black clouds wrapped about it for a turban, and bangs of red-head lightning in its face. And through the night, that tongueless mountain uttered marvelous things. And all red, rot, and die. Below the steps, the dewing colors were fresh. Full green leaves cover the stems like feathers, and countless flowers bloom like golden coins. The cold wind, moaning, blows against you fiercely. I fear that soon you'll find it hard to stand. Upstairs, the scholar lets down his white hair. He faces the wind, breathes the fragrance, and weeps. I slumbered the spring morning and missed the dawn. From everywhere I heard the cry of birds. That night, sound of wind and rain had come. Who knows how many petals then had fallen? The moon's reflected on the river a few feet away. A lantern shone in the night near the third watch. On the sand, egrets sleep, peacefully curled together. Behind the boat, I hear the splash of jumping fish. You can't walk, can't cry anymore. Think about the green foliage that sparks after, the rain. When the daylight exhausts you, when you hope a final night will cover the world, think about the awakening of a young child. And let me just, As a fond mother, when the day is over, leads by the hand her little child to bed, half willing, half reluctant to be led, and leave his broken playthings on the floor. Still gazing at them through the open door, nor wholly reassured in comfort by promises of others in their stead, which, though more splendid, may not please him more. So nature deals with us and takes away our playthings one by one, and by the hand leads us to rest so gently that we go, sacred, knowing if we wish to go or stay, being too full of sleep to understand how far the unknown transcends what we know. And now the cordial clouds have shut all in, and gently swell the wind to say all's well. The scattered drops are falling fast and thin, some in the pool, some in the flower belt. I am well drenched upon my bed of oats, but see that globe come rolling down its dip. Now, like a lonely planet, there it floats. Now it sinks into my garment's hem. A wind sways the pine, and below not a breath of wild air, still as the mosses that glow on the flooring and over the lines of the roots here and there. The pine tree drops its dead. They are quiet as under the sea. Overhead rushes life in a race, as the clouds and the clouds chase. And here we go, and here we drop like the fruits of the tree. Even so. Life, believe, is not a dream, so dark as sages say. Oft a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. Sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. If the shower will make the hearts bloom, oh, why lament its fall? Seasons of mist and mellow fruitfulness close a bosom friend of the maturing sun, considering with him how to load and bless. With fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with apples the moss cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd, and plump the hazel shells with sweet kernel, to set budding more, and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think more days will never cease. Flow, softly flow, by lawn and lea, a rivulet that our steps shall be, forever and forever. But we will sigh thine alder tree, and hear thine aspen shiver. And here by thee will hum the bee, forever and forever. 1,000 suns will stream on thee, 1,000 moons will cover, but not by thee my steps shall be, forever, forever. Spake full, in language quaint and olden, one who dwelt by the castle Rhine. Even he called the flowers so blue and golden, stars that in earth's firmament do shine. Stars they are, wherein we read our history, as astrologers and seers of eld, yet not wrapped about with awful mystery, like the burning stars which they beheld. Wondrous truth and megaphone as wondrous God hath written in those stars above, but not less in the bright flowers underneath us, under us, stands the revelation of love. Anyway, lo, in the eastern sky is set thy glancing eye, and though its grace neareth raiseth to my sight, yet every star that climbs above the gnarled limbs of yonder hill conveys thy gentle will. I wander lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, besides the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretch in a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in a strange dance. It may be fantasy when I essay to draw from all created things deep heartfelt inward joy that closely clings, and trace in leaves and flowers that round me lie lessons of love and earnest pity. So let it be, and if the world wide rings in mock of this belief it brings, so will I build my altar in fields, and the blue sky my fretted dome shall be, and the sweet fragrance that the wildflower yields shall be incense I will yield to thee. Thee only God, and thou shalt not despise, even me, the priest of this poor sacrifice. Okay. Upon this peak I name you my son, which I could not do before my exile. Signac, chieftain of my Rarak, thought your blood was his, but the truth was clear as the color of the sky, painted in your eyes and mine. As I wander alone in this foreign land, it is not Signac's death that wounds me, nor the memory of your mother, nor the loss of snow sheath and banner, my home, but instead the silence that lay between us, who should have been father and son. I paint my mark here for you, and leave you this offering, though it will never touch the warmth of your hands. As the months of my exile turn to years, I have thought long on what kept me from claiming you. Such a call could only be settled in blood by the death of Signac, our chieftain, or mine, my own. It is true I feared this battle in its strength, but not all as much as I feared its aftermath. The eyes of Illy, your mother, distant and dead, as they beheld the corpse of her bane. This I could not bear, and so I remained silent, ashamed. But fate is cold and cruel. My fears come to pass despite me. I paint this mark in sorrow, and leave you this offering, though it will never touch the warmth of your hands. In my exile, I often envisioned your eyes, wide and blue, dumbstruck, as the body of Signac, our chieftain, was laid before you. The Rarak saw how I looked at his maid, Illy, your mother. To them my guilt was as plain and as sharp as the crack of spring ice. As they stripped me bare and left me to die in the glacier, the warmth of life departed me, but not the bitter will to hunt, to strive, to survive. Perhaps to prove I needed no one, least of all those who wronged me, I am only at peace when I paint my marks and craft these offerings for you, though they will never touch the warmth of your hands. There is much I would confess to you, but one thing I cannot. I did not kill Signac, our chieftain, who claimed to be your father. That night I was alone in my tent, drunk with cold wine, dreaming as I always did, of Illy, your mother, and her sunset smile. You will never hear my statement, and my offering will never touch the warmth of your hands, but I paint my mark in the light of truth. I know what I am guilty of, and what I am not. I hope against hope that in your heart you will know the same. Falsely accused, exiled, starving and cold, I faltered, this I confess. As death chills overcame me, I lost will and purpose, and felt the bottomless callousness of fate. But then, a figure I saw in my mind's eye, an endless white plain. With only a single figure waiting. It was you, and I knew it. In death, if not in life, I would see you again. When the chills fade, I rose with new hope. I painted my mark here in anticipation of your meeting, and leave you this offering that will never touch the warmth of your hands. It is only because you'll never read these glyphs that I can write them. After a lifetime of longing, I spent only a single night with with Illy, your mother. You're a memory that I cherished, but she reviled. A burning coal of guilt she carried in her belly. And so I wonder, was her guilt laid bare the night Signac, our chieftain, was killed? Did he discover the truth? Was she forced to defend herself? If only I had bidden them, to stand between them, to actually strike the blow as punished for. At least then, I would have been her champion, and father you deserved. For a single moment, I paint this mark with eternal regret, and leave you this offering that will never touch the work of your hands. And now, finally, these ones. God, this is going to be so fun.
A pocket Storm Tour, Day 2. My father guest lectured here. A 300-level military history course on the age of human air power. Might as well have been teaching medieval siege tactics. I was 8 when he died.
Hi, Ma. You brought me here to see Baba teach. I didn't know it at the time, but class was something out of the 20th century. He stood behind a lectern in a real space lecture hall, raising his unamplified voice to be heard by flesh and blood cadets seated in plastic chairs. As being 40 to 45, 46, our air forces must have already been 60 to 70% automated, but the academy was still old school, literally. I suppose the acquaintance of the setting fit the subject he was teaching, the age of human air power, 1909, to... The cadets probably thought the question marks were wishful thinking or willful ignorance. From their perspective, the era of human pilots our pilot was already over. But not for Baba. I can still see the medals he kept in his drawer in the bedroom. The inscriptions and scans would touch the sky with glory, you said one night. Even as a Commodore in the IAF, he kept flying. He still remembered what it was like to sit in a cockpit with his hands on the stick and his finger on a trigger. That's how he died. June 5th, 2048. At the funeral, some metal international rep said we should be proud he died defending free markets, even though I knew that was a lie. He defending metallurgics claim on a tantalum mine. That's what he died for. And why stop the truth-telling there? Really, he died because metallurgic wasn't rich enough to afford a fully automated fleet. Because it wasn't cost-effective to upgrade a military surplus Razor Wing with improved electronics warfare gear. He died because human combat pilots were just as obsolete as the crates they put them in, just expendable. When he spiraled into the jungle, our family crashed with him. For weeks you couldn't get out of bed, and then came the hospital, staying with neighbors. Even after you recovered, even when you said all the right things and promised we'd be okay, I didn't believe it. Something had broken between us. I felt like an orphan. Nothing seemed to matter anymore. Which is how I lived for the next 7 years, until it almost killed me. Wait, is this his grandfather or fucking, Oh, it was his father. I completely misfucking read what the fuck, who that guy was.
A pocket Storm Tour, Day 4. It's hard to believe Metallurgic International used to be headquartered in this dreary old ziggurat. Wyatt's office was on the 2nd floor from the top. If Emmett had a policy against workplace romances, he probably wrote it.
Hi, Ma. Looking back, it's almost comical how much I detested Wyatt. Fucking on my nose. Trying to fucking read and I keep fucking eating. Anyway, I hated everything about him. His lovely face, his bad skin, the always calm voice, his out-of-style suits. Especially a stupid cowboy name. I don't care how badly you want to assimilate. There's never any excuse for naming your kid after a gunfighter. I couldn't believe you would replace my Baba, a decorated combat flyer with a corporate drone. So I made it as hard for you as I could, and I was beyond cruel. I accused you to your face of only being interested in Wyatt for his money, called you, my own mother, gold digger and worse, refused to attend the wedding, and got myself arrested the night before just to cinch the point. It took me years to understand the obvious. Of course you married him for his money. For my sake, not yours. Before Wyatt, the job you were working didn't even cover food and rent. When you didn't get overtime, we slipped deeper in debt or went hungry. You literally couldn't afford to spend time at home, let alone pay for childcare, rent, and nanny bond. Meanwhile, your son was out of control, a truant and thief, not even out of a junior high and already a drug addict. If you only had yourself to worry about, I think you would have politely refused White's interest. You were no stranger to hardship compared to what you've been through getting out of Koleka, or whatever it is, in 2037. Simple poverty probably seemed like a cakewalk. You know how to survive. Your son didn't. I would head nowhere at ramming speed. You married Wyatt to save me for the stability and opportunities his money could provide. It wound up working, but not as smoothly as you hoped. Before I could be saved, I had to die first. But that's a story for the amphitheater. And holy shit, is that a fucking line, since we actually know what happened there.
Apaka Shitstorm Tour, Day 3. I was 13. I broke in and vandalized this place. Me and that kid, I think his name was Star. It was my first arrest. A real banner day for the Mahdi family. What a messed up kid I was.
Hi, Ma. Star was a problem kid, but he really wasn't smart enough to get into trouble on his own. I didn't tell him my real motivations. Just breaking into the museum and vandalizing it sounded like a fun thing to do, high on duster. I was only 13, but my combined interest in tech and drugs had already acquainted me with the basics of hacking a security system. I used a jammer to bypass a window alarm, then I got to work. I toppled holo exhibits, smashed dioramas, yanked display panels off the walls, and smashed those too. I forgot all about Star until he yelped about flying glass. He was just standing there, holding his cheek, staring at me with big, scared eyes, whining about how this was crazy and I was going to get us arrested. I was right about their arrests. Getting caught was part of my plan, but wrong about crazy. My one-boy orgy of destruction wasn't some kind of drug-soaked psychotic frenzy. It was a calculated attack. Not on the museum, on Wyatt. You started dating Wyatt a few weeks before, and I didn't like him. I wanted him gone. And when you had him over for dinner, one of the many boring things he droned on about was how he served on the board of the museum, oversaw its technological purchases. And as I was saying, Sar was right to think we were going to get arrested. It went down quick. Star began screaming about how he was burning all over. Next thing I knew, I was face down in a mountain of expanding foam. The police spots never even warned us. Compared to Star, I got off easy. I've never been the business end of a microwave gun, but they say it hurts like hell. I was still picking bits of the foam out of my hair a week later, though. Fines and damages come to 18 months of basic income, so it wasn't just shame that my actions brought down on my family, but financial catastrophe, too. Which is why the plan backfired. I didn't push Wyatt away. I handed him a golden opportunity. He stepped in, paid the bill, and it was only another month or two before you got engaged. It's weird, but lately I've been dreaming about that night. I keep seeing that one projector I toppled. Watching the holograms of the Pioneer woman slew sideways, spin to the floor like a bowling machine as the emitter crashed over. A zap and a flick and she was gone. History shortened out. Kind of like now. I wonder if anyone will survive to build museums about us. I gotta fucking... God, stop fucking clogging! Really fucking annoying. Motherfucker. God, that sucks ass. You can't clear your fucking nose because it keeps fucking clogging.
Apaka Shitstorm Tour, Day 8. Holy crap. That glitched out lifter that crushed your arm and clavicle. back before you met Wyatt. That was in the mine back beyond these falls. Oh, what a punk I was.
Ma, I couldn't believe I just stumbled across this place. I remember your injury, of course. I just forgot it happened all the way out here. This was before Wyatt, obviously, when things were really hard for us. I was 12 or 13, already smoking duster every day. You were working all the time, stuck on the job you convinced Metallurgic to give you after they stiffed us on the death settlement. It must have been terrible. Servicing mining robots and dig tunnels for 1.5 basic. But it's how you kept us fed. When the lifter injured you, the foreman said it was your fault, so the telemetry showed human error, yours. When you told me that the telemetry had been cooked, I didn't believe you. I blamed you for your injury, same as the company. What a great kid I was. I didn't understand the situation at all. Denial of comp was a financial death blow. We were days from living on the street, which is why you pushed your grievance up the ladder. Up and up until finally you wound up in the White's office. He ordered an investigation was the right thing to do, though I always wondered how dispassionate his decision was. Investigation proved the telemetry had been tampered with, validated your claim. The implants and cybernetics fixed you up good as new. By all appearances, it looked like everything that had gotten broken had been fixed. Hell, another 6 months and you and Wyatt started seeing each other, so before long, even our poverty was fixed. What we didn't know, of course, that you'd been poisoned. Lubar 6 exposure from the solvents used to keep robot joints clear. We were still years away from knowing the long-term effects, but the damage was done. You doomed yourself working a shitty job to keep me fed and clothed, and I can't even remember a single time I thanked you for it. Screw this place.
A pocket shitstorm tour, day 9. I was setting up my tent right here when Wyatt's call came through. I came as fast as I could, but you'd already slipped into a coma. We never got a chance to say goodbye.
Hi, Ma. My plan was to go camping here after the Asmos 15 launch. I had been working overtime for the past 9 months, so I was pretty frazzled and figured I should take a weekend and relax before Crunch showed up again. I was setting up my tent when Wyatt's call came through. He said it was an emergency. I called a lift spin vert and made it to Denver General in less than 27 minutes. I was too late. You've already slipped into a coma. I didn't understand how that could be, but when I told Wyatt to explain, he just kept choking up, waving me towards the care station. So it was a holodoc that broke the news. How you'd been diagnosed a year earlier. The adverse reactions to gene therapy and polymer vascular replacement, the 6 months of mobile dialysis. I couldn't believe you kept all that secret from me. Even at the height of Crunch, I called you once or twice a week. So you just sat there listening to me enthuse about my latest project and complained about workday politics. And all the while you were dying? It didn't make sense. I marched back to Wyatt, cornered him, and demanded that he explain. He said you hadn't want to distract me, that I was doing important work and needed to focus. You know, as though the latest Asmos launch and the Palladium and the Rhodium it bring back to Earth mattered more than the Ma who was already here. Wyatt kept saying how proud you were of me. He even parroted the onwards and upwards phrase of yours. He said I should get back to work, and that's what you would have wanted. That he'd stay at the hospital and keep me informed. I didn't go back. I called in. It took arguing my way past 2 supervisors, a labyrinthine automated HR menu, a human resources AI, and an anal defensive benefits executive to activate my personal leave, but I did it. And then I sat at your bedside for the next 7 days. I kept thinking of my hospital after my OD at the amphitheater. Kept thinking that if you came out of the coma, I wanted my face to be the first thing you saw. On the 8th day, they pronounced you dead. After the funeral, I went back to work, but I wasn't really there. I kept telling myself to focus and that it'd be okay to be there. It was what you would have wanted, after all. Onwards and upwards. My work fell behind. When my supervisor called me in for an emergency review, I told myself to play it cool, accept the criticism, and promise to do better. It didn't go like that. I snapped and shouted at him, and then broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. 2 minutes and 3-second drones later, I was standing outside the Farah building, blinking in the sunshine, straightening my bunched-up clothes. An alert on my focus indicated that I should go home for the day and report for a disciplinary review on Monday. I didn't go home. Another idea had risen in my mind, already fully formed. I guess I had been already thinking of doing it for a while. I took a lift spin to Pioneer Park, 10 minutes of asking around, and a truth test to show I wasn't a cop. That's all it took to make a connection. God fucking damn it! I'm trying to fucking read. I don't need to fucking clog. God damn it. Ugh. I went home with the drugs, started using and didn't stop. Duster, Snake, Skydive, Overcast. No reason, at least. I didn't take calls. Didn't show up for the disciplinary review on Monday morning. A friend stopped by and hammered the door until I answered. When he saw what was happening, he stayed a one-man intervention. I agreed to go into treatment, but I didn't harbor any illusions. Use of personal leave was bad. The use of a psych/SA leave? Career suicide. Sure, they couldn't legally fire me for it, but I'd been around fast long enough to know they'd find a way. My career was over. I thought I was at rock bottom, but I was wrong, of course. I still had a long way to fall.
A pocket shitstorm tore day 7. I was 3 months out of rehab when we went camping out here. Wyatt went to sleep early, so it was just the two of us when we stayed up and watched the Perseids. After, so we talked about the stars and space tech. I suddenly knew what I wanted to do with my life.
Hi, Ma. It was August. Summer school had wrapped. I aced my courses, so I was heading back to 10th grade with a good head full of steam. As a reward for my studies and my sobriety, you and Wyatt gave me a Fullerton Labs Astro Prodigy. Took me camping to watch the parasites at their peak. I was amped. Wyatt spent all afternoon struggling with the self-constructing shelter he bought for the trip, until finally he gave up and built the damn thing manually. Well, the sleeping pods anyway. While we made a fire and cooked dinner. It must have taken a lot out of him, because Wyatt was nodding off dinner and went to bed soon after. As night fell, we sat and watched the meteors streak across the sky like fingernail scratches, marveling at their abundance, laughing our delight. After an hour or so, you asked me to teach you the constellations, so I launched the Astro Prodigy, Blade Professor, spouting off about each star group as the drone magnified them. Later, I had it zoom in on the Odyssey, which was still being constructed, or back then. It was another year or two before they abandoned it. We could actually see the robots building it, zipping across the hole like little flies, so I jabbered about that, which got me started on yammering about the robots that Faro and other corporations, even Metallurgic, had begun sending up to mine helium-3 from Luna and metals from the asteroid belt. The more I spoke about space tech, the more excited I became, but I was getting cold too. Deserts at night are like that. So I sat back down next to you and we huddled under the camp blanket. For a little while we were quiet. I wanted to say what I was thinking, but it felt ridiculous. Then Wyatt snored explosively from inside the shelter and we giggled. Our laugh seemed to make an opening for me to just go ahead and say it. That I, your delinquent son, who almost flunked out of high school, who nearly died of an OD at a Pashkor concert, wanted to be an aerospace engineer. Make the sorts of machines we've been talking about. Robots that gather resources in the solar system, maybe even ones that could travel to other stars and colonize new worlds. You looked at me and smiled. Then that is what you'll do. And you looked at the night sky and said very plainly, as though it was a simple fact, You'll write the story of our family across the stars. School started next week, and I never looked back.
Day 12. As we watched the booster arc up into the night sky, riding a pillar of flame, you took my hand, squeezed it, and said, "You have written the story of our family across the stars."
Hi, Ma. Last stop after this. Last stop. After this, I'll have said everything I need to. It was just a routine launch, but for us, it might as well have been Apollo 11. It was my first payload, a seeker/extractor with an upgraded propulsion system I designed. The vehicle was designed for M89282, an asteroid rich in ruthenium and tungsten. A metallurgic claim as it happened. A family event through and through. So, there we stood, in the open air as night fell and the stars came up. And of course, I was thinking about the night years before, when we watched the parasites together and talked and dreamed of this very moment. You were thinking of it too, because when the boosters launched, and as it rose into the sky on its jet of flame, you took my hand and said, "You have written the story of our family across the stars." Even then, I knew it wasn't true. The vehicle was headed for a rock, not a star. It was a routine launch, not some voyage of discovery, but my heart was too full to quibble. I just smiled and squeezed your hand back. It was the finest moment of my life. You and me, Ma, onwards and upwards. Said our great things, but after you died, I broke down. The meaning of that night changed. Everything that seemed wonderful seemed to turn to rotten false. It seemed false because it was false. I never written anything across the stars. Sure, I hoped to work on a project like that, a deep space probe or a colony ship, but it never happened. And now that my career was over, it never would. And then when I found out about the plague, the memory haunted me even worse, because it wasn't just me who failed to write a story across the stars, you see. It was all of us. Our entire species. All our innovation, all our tech, all our striving. And it came to zero. I've been looking up at the stars a lot, Ma, and the only story I see written across them is that we are small and insignificant, and will soon disappear with hardly a trace left behind. It was a hard story, and I don't much like it. So I guess maybe I've been trying to do these past 12 days to tell a different story. Not a big story written across the stars, but a tiny one, written across the humble earth, the only world we ever got to know. I have no reason to think that anyone or anything will survive to ever read it. But whether that happens or not, the truth of the story remains. That once upon a time, on a planet called Earth, there lived a boy named Bashar, who loved his mother very, very much. Goodbye, Ma. I love you. Bashar Mati, stepson of Wyatt, and then 24, November 2064.
Day 11. I came out here to die. But instead of overdosing at Wyatt's cottage, I went out walking along the water. I was standing right here when the idea hit me. And the moment it did, I knew I had to do it.
Hi, Ma. I came here with a duffel bag full of drugs after I found out about the plague. I had a plan, a simple one. I figured I'd spend a few days getting high, then OD on Overcast. I guess I was still furious at Wyatt for aiding and abetting her silence. If everything had gone according to plan, my corpse would have laid rotting in the cottage for who knows how long. You would have needed to at least catastrophic cleaning bots just to scrape me off the floor. A skeletal middle finger from beyond the grave. But things didn't go to plan. For some reason, I went out walking before I got high. I trudged along the shore, thinking of all the times we walked and talked here, how I changed over the years, how you stayed the same. Whether I was a high schooler jabbering about AP classes or a university student gossiping about my professors, or a fast engineer pontificating about payload yields, you were always there, always listening and always interested. And always encouraged me, of course, spurring me on and onwards and upwards. But now, here I was, an abject failure, standing alone on this beach, as all around me children chased playbots across the sand, sunbathers basked, families splashed in the water and zipped past on old-timey boats, utterly oblivious to the mechanical terrors that would soon consume them. Brief moments in the sun, doomed to end in horror and amount to nothing. All your love and devotion, all the sacrifices you made to support my success, what did it come to? Failure. And at such cost, we never even got a chance to say goodbye. But even if I hadn't failed, if I had gone on succeeding, would that have been any better? The whole time I was clawing my way up the ladder at FAST, the company's military division was creating the tech that would end the world. I served the same master. Success was a ladder to nowhere. It just took falling off and landing on the Vantage project to see it. I don't know why, but the irony of that never hit me until I was standing on the beach. That it was the only time it was only because I failed, been assigned to Vantage, an abandoned time capsule project, that I found out the world was ending. Irony, more like a cosmic joke. Why then did the realization hit me like an inspiration? I had access to the tech. I knew I could do it. Sure, in the end, it probably all just come to nothing like everything else. But for 50,000 years or more, whatever data I left behind would still be here. It wouldn't be much, but it wouldn't be nothing either. I went back to the cottage, stashed the drugs, called a lift spin into town. If I was going to make an end of the world tour, I figured I might as well do it in style. So I leased a Sabara, rode that to FAS. I let myself into the lab, signed out 12 Vantage spikes for testing, put them in the trunks of the Sabara, and the rest is history. It was less than 2 weeks ago. Feels like forever. When I started the tour, I figured I'd come back and pick up where I left off, get high and dead. But the first thing I did when I got back was incinerate the drugs, all 2.5 months of salary worth, so that the bridge to oblivion has literally been burned. I don't know how I'm gonna die, but it can't be like that. I know how you felt about me and drugs. However it happens, I can at least promise you this. I will die clean. I still have one last spike to sink, one final stop on the Grand Mystery Tour. I'll see you there. That was this one, right? The Pharaoh one. Or no, that was a different one, right? I don't remember where that one was. Alright.
A pocket shit storm tour. Day 1. Where better to start than at the end? Or where the end started, anyway. Ground zero. Where it all came crashing down. My career first. Then everything else. And I mean everything.
I've spent fucking 40 minutes on reading. Fucking hell. I think what's going to have to happen is that I finish reading up and then I'll end off the video. I did not consider how long it would take for me just to fucking read. Yeah, no, I must be a slow reader if I can't fucking... I mean, the stuff is pretty interesting, as well as just quite a few other things. Hi, Ma. Remember how ecstatic we were when I landed a job here? Aerospace control engineer at Faro Automated Systems, straight out of Stanford University. Saturday, I was tossing a mortar board, Monday, I was an employee of the biggest corporation on earth. Starting wage, 6 times basic. It was a dream come true, yours as much as mine. When I found out I landed the gig, I waited until graduation day to tell you in person. You were so proud. You hugged me 5 minutes straight, laughing and crying at the same time, saying over and over, onwards and upwards, the start of great things. I thought so, too. It seemed as though nothing bad would ever happen to me, to us, ever again. But bad did happen, of course. More bad than I ever knew was possible. And while I can't blame Fast for making you sick, Metallurgic gets the credit for that, I can sure as hell blame Pharaoh for the rest. Well, let's talk about the end of the world later. It plays a part in the story, of course. If I hadn't found out what was coming, I wouldn't be doing all this. Leaving these time capsules behind, but the apocalypse isn't the story I want to tell. This is going to be about our family, about us. It's time to get going. I spent enough of my life in the shadow of this place. I got 11 more Vantage spikes in the trunk of the Sabera I rented. Some pretty good ideas where to sink them. So let's get the hell away from this place and start sinking.
Apocalypse Storm Tour, Day 10. So here's where I learned how the world would end. My second apocalypse in a year. Looks like there's a lot of construction going on now. Why would that be?
Hi, Ma. I was surprised when Fast sent me out here. And not just because the meeting was going to be held in real space. I was surprised to discover that anyone at Fast still knew I existed. When I returned to my work after treatment, HR informed me I had been reassigned to the Vantage Project. It was exactly the professional death sentence I was expecting, the career equivalent of being sent into a red zone without an environmental suit. Everyone knew Vantage was one of those doomed Project Fast kept around solely for the purpose of signing dead enders to them, especially head cases like me who couldn't be summarily fired for fear of parity litigation. Month by month, management would pile losers on a lost cause, and cancel the project and lay everyone off. Ship of fools sunk with a single torpedo. Ain't wrongful dismissal if it's downsizing. I had nothing better to do, so I spent my time studying the tech. Chip design wasn't my forte, but I knew enough to admire what the engineers had accomplished with the Eternity chip. Stored data was guaranteed to last 50,000 years, or more without degradation. As for the Vantage itself, the project was little more than a failed marketing plan. The idea was to promote the tech by burying unlocked Eternity chips at scenic locales around the world. Public domain time capsules where enthusiasts could cache date-locked data. The project got as far as developing the spikes, portable drill applicators to sink the chips, then stalled when Grass Hetler encapsulates came on the market and stole Eternity's thunder. Anyway, I've been at Vantage 3 weeks when Fast unexpectedly sent me out here for a real space meeting. Me, a dead-ender working a doomed project, dispatched to a high-security Fast R&D site inside King's Peak. It didn't make sense. Security put me in a small conference room and told me to wait. It was downright claustrophobic. Thin lights, bad ventilation, more like an interrogation room from one of those 90s cop vids. But what really got my attention was the noise coming through the walls, the non-stop bang and clatter of construction bots building something deep in the mountains, something big. The door opened and some doofs wearing Fast badges filed in. I recognized one of them, Brad Anik, a military division replication engineer I met when I first joined the company, but I don't think he recognized me. He stayed at the back of the room the whole time, looking distraught. I was about to ask what the hell was going on when a woman wearing a hijab walked in. She didn't introduce herself, but she didn't have to. It was Sami Ibadje, former lead archivist on the Odyssey, architect of the entire Homer project. Not a global celebrity by any means, but if you grew up following the Odyssey project like I did, you know her on sight. Sat down and started asking extremely precise questions about the upper range tolerances of the Eternity chips. Then she asked to speculate about the feasibility of various upgrade paths. The interview lasted maybe 10 minutes, whereupon she thanked me for my time and left. Everyone else filed out of the room, or filed out after her. Security came for me a few minutes later and escorted me back to my vert, a whole way back to Fast. I kept trying to figure out what had just happened. What was she doing at classified Pharaoh R&D site? Asking me questions about attorney tech? It didn't add up. By the time I landed, I knew I wasn't going to give up until I puzzled it out. The worst that I could have happened was I'd get fired, and that was going to happen anyway. It took a couple of days and some geo work, but I got a fix on Brad Annex soon enough. He was going to a different bar every night, drinking to the point of blacking out. I shadowed him until I managed to proxy his focus and duped his net protocols. I didn't find anything strange in his financial records or media patterns. Starting to think I wasted my time. Then I accessed his Dreambox account and found the journal he's been keeping for the past few weeks. It was all there. How the world would end. My first thought was, well, at least my mom didn't live to see this. My second thought was that nothing mattered anymore, which made it pretty obvious that I should kill myself.
Apaka Shitstorm Tour, Day 5. The Grey Swarms opened for Turtle Smash the night I OD'd here. Or so the police report said, anyway. I was 15 years old. When I woke in the hospital, 2 days later, her face was the first thing I saw.
Hi, Mom. I don't remember anything about the concert. The bands, music, the crowd. I was too throttled on Skydive and Snake at night to distinguish the thunder of Bashcore from the roar of blood in my head. Then I ran across to Pusher, who was selling Razorwing for $8 a tab. That's right, Razorwing. A certain designer stimulant named after a certain late 30s fighter craft that our family had a certain unpleasant association with. So I declined the offer, heeded the ominous portent, and got the hell out of there, right? Maybe what I did was buy 4 tabs and take them all at once. Yeah, did that. According to the police report, I went berserk and attacked the Pusher, and set fire to his stash, and then went after the security drones that showed up. I didn't get far. The drones put 50,000 volts through me, which wouldn't have been such a big deal if my heart hadn't already been hammering along. Which wouldn't have been such a big deal if my heart hadn't already been hammering along at triple time. The shock flat out killed me. The Medbots came fast as they could, but the first glitched out and the second got hung up in the cloud. So I was dead for almost 2 minutes. Even after they revived me, my condition was touch and go on account of all the substances slushing through my veins. When I came out of the coma, your face was the first thing I saw. You had been crying. Your makeup was smudged. Dark lines down your cheeks. When our eyes met, I expected you to start yelling. And weak as I was ready to yell back. Not even a coma could break my defiance. But you didn't yell. You quietly asked Wyatt to wait in the hall. Then pushed your chair right up to the edge of my bed and took my hand. Oh, little boy. I wanted to jerk my hand back, but I couldn't. It wasn't the strength of your grip that stopped me. The warmth of your hand. The gentleness of which you took mine. When you spoke, your voice was quiet. Just above a whisper. When I lost your Baba 7 years ago, you were my only reason to go on lifting. Your gaze lifted to the medical equipment surrounding us, the tubes and blinking light. You shook your head. Why do you live like no one loves you? Don't you realize that if you die, all my hopes and dreams, and all the hopes of your father, hopes and dreams of your father will die with you? You reached and touched my hair, like a thundercrack I broke. Maybe I was just snapping back the entire time. I lay there sobbing for what felt like years. The whole time you never took your hand away, and I didn't either. The next day I agreed to go into treatment. I wish I could say I never picked up again. I never picked up again, but we both know that's not exactly how things turned out.
Apaka Shitstorm Tour, Day 6. I was fresh out of rehab when we saw the Metallurgists play the Hearts Wayfarers. The Emmett jersey looked pretty funny. Hopefully you're sorry.
Hi, Ma. So this would have been late May or early June. I was only a week or two out of rehab, so still feeling pretty raw, pretty kingly about sober life. You're already gone toe-to-toe with Mr. Gerson, that jerk principal who tried to block my readmission. I was looking at 8 weeks of summer school to make up for all the courses I flunked. I didn't mind. Without drugs, I didn't really know what to do with myself yet. So I welcomed the structure. The metallurgists were playing the Wayfarers, and as usual, Wyatt had box tickets. But this was the first time I agreed to go. Hell, it was probably the first time I had ever agreed to anything as a family in retrospect. I'm surprised Wyatt was willing to bring his Hellion stepson to a public event so soon. I'd seen teams slug it out on Hollow before, of course, but seeing it in the real was a whole other thing. The size of the machines, their speed, the way they bashed each other to pieces. It was intense. All at once my fascinations with tech, which had kind of faded as I sunk into the drugs, came roaring back. When Hami Rahman, the team's chief engineer, stopped by the box at halftime, I was all over him, blasting him with questions like a one-boy press conference. Looking back, it wouldn't surprise me if you took me to that game hoping to get me excited about tech before I headed into summer school. Or was it that you wanted to catch a glimpse of you wanted me to catch a glimpse of corporate privilege? It was always your dream that I end up in engineering or business. Well, there was plenty of engineering on display when Connor 12 scored with an 18-meter rocket jump, and plenty of VPs and even C-levels in the box with us when we cheered the goal. Yeah, it was a setup. You know what you're doing. I always did. Alright, that's all of the collectibles for the main game. There are, of course, technically some collectibles for there. I don't even want to begin with these fucking data points. God, that would be hellish to fucking just... I think that would be an entire close to 2 hours just going over all of this. I think the only thing I'm willing to do is fuck around with the scan glyphs. But anyway, I sure as hell did not expect that to take that long. Where am I even? Over here. Okay, let's see, because there should still be, I think, is it just these two? I don't remember what was specifically over this one. Alright. Then I need to craft a couple more of the traveling stuff. Now we got 3. Alright, there we go. Okay. So that was an hour worth of me reading. I'm going to end it off here. Thank you guys for tuning in, all that jazz. Subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you in the video. And have a great day. Where's the button? Alright.